we meet for the first time with Dhanya, and our beautiful Dhanya is a new member of our Art for Yoga team. She is so incredible in what she does. For me, learning about her practice has evolved my own life journey and my own practice. She comes from a realm of Ayurveda, so Ayurveda is life science, and Dhanya is a life science coach and practitioner, so Ayurvedic practitioner. What does that actually entail? What do you think that means?
So, I mean, it's a big question, and I take Ayurveda on as a practitioner very respectfully. So Ayurveda Ayur is a Sanskrit word for life, and Veda is a wisdom. So when we talk about life sciences, Ayurveda is one of the oldest life sciences. And the thing that I love about Ayurveda is it is as practical a science as you have ever had. So in a time where we live, where science is constantly changing and evolving, one day you're meant to eat eggs, one day you're meant to eat protein, one day you're meant to be vegan, Ayurveda is 5,000 years of consistency. It has observed human beings for millennia, and based on the observations of thousands of years, it has gathered the best of what is essential to health and condensed it into these Vedic philosophies. The thing about Ayurveda that I think bridges the gap, and what I as a practitioner really bring to the table, is I'm not just looking at your physical health. I'm asking you how you feel. I'm asking you, I look at your handwriting, I look at your face, I look at everything about you, because the whole of us, so mind, body and spirit, we are like a puzzle. And all parts of the puzzle, when they are in line, create this beautiful shape of health and vitality. And whenever I'm working with someone, my primary job is just to work out, what is it about this puzzle that's not, there's a piece in the wrong spot. Or maybe there's one piece that should be here, but it's there.
What does that look like? What does that piece, as an example?
As an example, great. So there are 4 major elements to an Ayurvedic consultation. Ahar is diet, Vihar is lifestyle, Nidra is sleep, and Dinacharya is your routine. And these
That's
are
the
like
first time I've really heard about routine being
essential. So essential, right? So if you think about the 4 legs that make a chair stand, the 4 legs that make the bed stable, the 4 legs that regulate our lives are these 4 things.
Absolutely.
And each of them has got the physical part, but especially when you look at lifestyle and you look at routine, so much of that is mind, is spirit, is going into the realm of meditation, breath, and things like that. And Ayurveda, kind of the thing that it does for me is it gives me all the tools in the toolbox to really help people get aligned.
It's a very, to put it in that concept, I don't think any other that I know of medical pathway goes, where can I get you aligned? It kind of looks at where can I treat. Treat is always a symptomatic treatment, right? The things, but alignment is a configuration of cellular, alignment. It's a very powerful, transformative way to look at health. Rather than fix me, I want to align me.
Yeah, that's right. And we were talking about this earlier. So I think it's really important to know that none of us are broken. Nobody is broken. We come absolutely as we are meant to be. And then through our lives in the world that we live in, especially the culture that we live in, it can make us bend in ways that are not natural. It's like when you're doing a yoga class and the teacher says, get your knee up to your shoulder, and it's just not you, but you're trying to do it because everyone in the class is doing it. That's culture. And that is often where I see people going out of alignment. Because we're trying to contort ourselves in a way that just isn't natural.
Do you know what a great metaphor that is? Because we were also talking about before that really the biggest emotional stress on people is not being themselves. And trying to conform and be something that they're not, whether it's in a relationship or a job, friendships, career. And it goes back to alignment. So alignment is like alignment to self in your elemental, physiological, emotional, spiritual alignment. And every time you, for example, go into that yoga class and you're doing things that is not aligned to your body, the elemental type that you are, your configuration of sleep and routine, what is it that you need in these facets, going back to the 4 kind of things, to look at. That's the approach. Even in my yoga class, I always think to myself, yes, I have prepared some kind of structure to the class, but I always look at what does that person need, what do I intuitively feel here, how do I navigate this pathway to get them to alignment, because they come in some kind of state or some kind of feeling or some kind, you can see it.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't put them through like a big Vata type movement flow.
That's right.
I need
That's
to
not
ground and bring like more root chakra poses into my.
That's right.
So it's all is about alignment, and I think a big question I wanted to put to you today that's been on my mind is arriving to this understanding that we all to some degree see, know and understand we live in some kind of toxic culture on many different elemental notions of that. There's like toxic culture of how we consume food, toxic culture of how we consume entertainment and social media, toxic culture and how we're told to raise our children, how we're told to eat, like for this fad diet and toxic culture, and I feel like we've normalized it.
Yeah, we're all on the bandwagon, some kind of a bandwagon, absolutely. I mean, so the way we think about, so what is culture, right? So what is it that makes a culture? So the culture is just the norm. It is what we have accepted. It is what we choose to adhere to. And it becomes the standard that we live our lives by, right? That's a culture. And culture could be so beneficial. Ayurveda was a culture. It was just part of life. So when I was growing up, my grandmother lived this Ayurvedic life, and we never called it that. It just was the way
that's
it was.
Culture.
It was
the
a culture. It's the way it was.
Coin drop.
Yeah. So I remember growing up, my grandmother would be sitting at the dining table and eating, and she would burp at the meal, and I used to cringe on the inside, like, oh my god, this is embarrassing.
I think if you know, brown parents.
Yeah, they've got their own culture going on there, and I used to be like, oh my god, that is so disgusting.
It's so disgusting, but
now I sound like my grandma like 95% of the time, because what Ayurveda has given me is an understanding of the why. And I think what I bring is, on top of being trained in Ayurvedic diet and lifestyle, I did my PhD in mental health and addiction. So I've spent the last 10 years basically looking at how people experience mental health, anxiety, all the way to schizophrenia, to addiction, to heroin addiction. Understanding the story. So I used to go out and interview people and talk to people with addiction about what is the life of someone who has an addiction issue or is addicted to a substance. And the thing that I have realized from all of this is it's just people's stories. It's just people's life. It could be anybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's the consumption. Yeah, we're all kind of addicted to stuff. Some of it's legal and some of it's not. And in that boundary is this culture. So many people that I interviewed who are on ice, for example, said, well, but alcohol is doing more harm than ice, but why is that okay? People who are injecting heroin would be like, well, you know what, look at the number of smokers who are getting lung cancer, but nobody's stopping them from doing things. So it's interesting, it's all culture. How much harm is sugar doing us? What is the obesity epidemic doing for us?
Absolutely.
But because of my training and my interest in mental health specifically, I've been thinking about culture in terms of now our culture around mental health. And to me now, Ayurveda gave me the tools to understand that addiction is basically just overconsumption, but it stems from overcompensation. What are we compensating for?
Addiction is always like some kind of need to resolve a pain or a trauma.
Yeah.
Because for example, I was listening to this the other day, and they said, even from an early age, being given anesthetics, for being at the doctor's or at the dentist, and receiving this, like the child learns anesthesia, this numbing device, helping them cope with that pain, and it is even embedded in. They said even from childbirth. So
that's right.
And the mother receives this numbing, whatever that is, in what form it comes, but it's almost like creating a culture.
Yeah,
of
that's
numbing.
right. That's right.
Of numbing.
Yeah.
And it starts early, or it starts at some kind of like innocent level where it starts,
Well, because how many of us have been told, don't be a baby, don't be so sensitive, be a man, be tough. What is it really telling us? It's telling us to shut something down. Right now, for example, we are all consuming. There are candles at the table. And what Ayurveda tells us is when you gaze into a candle, you are consuming life. This is consumption too. As I am drinking my cup of tea, if I pick up the sound and I say, okay, oh, that is consumption. We consume much more than just food. And so much of the culture today, when we talk about the toxic culture, is because we are bombarded. Our senses are bombarded in a way that they never have been in the past. We live in a way that is completely foreign, just one generation ago, because of technology, which has been a great aid in many, many ways. But
we're bringing this to you live.
Yeah, that's right. But discernment. That is the word. Discernment. We are like children. We are so open to everything that we have no limits. It's like going to the candy shop every single day. Except we're not just taking it in through here.
Absolutely.
1, 2, 3, 4. It's just
so
coming and coming. Yeah.
Like, even a step further to that, there's energetic layers to us.
That's right.
Right? So we come in this energetic dense body. Inside that is an intellectual energy as well.
That's right.
The bodily energy, the physical energy, the ethereal energy, the aura we have, and then there's the astral energy.
That's right.
So all of these multifaceted energies that are all connected all the time are affecting you. So on a physical level, all the things that are stimulating you.
Yeah.
On the intellectual level, what are the 80,000 thoughts a day you're having?
Yeah, that's right.
And what are those thoughts like then putting in the subconscious, so then the ethereal, the energetic body.
That's right.
And then the connection to all.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It's a huge.
So in Ayurveda, there is, what I love about it is, it's rather than just focusing on the body, Ayurveda has words and a science to explain how energy moves. So for example, Ayurveda will say that energy moves from the srota, which are like the capillaries and the vessels of the body, to the nadis, which are the subtle channels.
To the energetic channels of the body. Which is true. What do you think, talking about that kind of underlying notion of toxicity around us, how do you think we could acknowledge or do something about it?
Can I move the incense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
see?
Yeah.
Influence.
This is me, and again, this is me holding my space.
Yeah.
And this is my work with people, is just that. Can you ask when you need something? So many of us, especially because, as children we were told, no, sit quietly, don't misbehave, eat what you're given, do what you're told. We have suppressed.
Why?
Well, because I think it's culture. It's culture. Especially as women.
Especially, but also the whole conditioning to being something you're not. So you just did something that you are, that you really want to be.
And unapologetic about it,
Respectfully unapologetic.
That's right, that's right. And
for your
this
own
is
needs.
for my own needs, And what Ayurveda has taught me, because 6 years ago I had my Ayurvedic journey. I think it's not a unique story, but basically I was on paper at the top of my career. I finished my PhD, I had a great postdoc with this amazing group, really prestigious. My daughter was 2, my husband and I had bought a house, we were living in a nice neighborhood. I was, living a good life, essentially. The life I had aspired to. And in my early 30s, I got it. I should have been happy, but I wasn't. I was always looking at the negative. My health wasn't great. I was dry. I was tired. I was just super critical. I was hypercritical. And as a researcher, we are thought to be critical because we do critical analysis. But I was taking the critical analysis of my work and projecting it everywhere. My relationship, my daughter, my life, my appearance. Nothing was ever good enough. And I thought that that was what success was. Always having a really high standard. Always, and I'm naturally a type A, which is a Pitta constitution. I've got some heat in me. So I kind of applied that to everything. And guess what too much heat gets you? It gets you burnt out. So basically
Did you have kidney issues?
I had gas, I had bloating, my skin was a mess, my hair was dried out, my knees hurt. I was 32 years old, my knees were starting to hurt.
Absolutely, and it's dryness, right?
It's dryness, yeah. And basically, your body, when there's too much heat, the fluid, the thing that keeps us rich and luxurious, it's dried out.
Absolutely.
So you are constantly in resistance.
Absolutely.
But the thing that the nail into my so-called coffin of my previous life was I was walking through, so I was at the Alfred Hospital. I was walking through Faulkner Park after quite an intense meeting with my group. And halfway through the park, I was walking to pick my daughter up from childcare. I basically had a small anxiety attack. And because I work in mental health, I was like, okay, racing thoughts, heart is racing, knees are feeling shaky, blacking out. Okay, I totally get what's happening to me. I am having anxiety.
Imagine people don't know.
Yeah. I'm just like tick, 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 tick. Okay, so sat on the bench, head between the knees, breathe out, breathe. I was like, okay, I got this. And then I got up, and then I was like, okay, I'm fine now. I'm gonna walk. But as I was walking, I thought, what the hell is happening to me? I am doing everything I ever thought I wanted to do. I should be happy. Why not?
Why not?
But you know what? It was the greatest intervention of my life.
It always is.
I am till today, one of the best moments of my life was that one, because it really got me asking, where does happiness come from? Where does joy come from? Where does bliss come from? Because if I've worked so hard to get here, and it hasn't brought me those three things, maybe I'm down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And I didn't go looking for Ayurveda. Ayurveda found me. I was in a library one day about a month later with my daughter, and we were in the children's section, and I just wandered around the corner to what was apparently the self-help section, which I would never, super judgmental self-help, what's that, would never go there. But I just rounded the corner, and till today, Neha, I don't know what made me pick up that book.
Yeah.
I wasn't even present. Something in me picked that book up and borrowed it.
Wow.
I still don't know. It was something beyond me, because I would never.
Yeah.
Never. I'm better than all of that. But I read it cover to cover, and I changed my life in a matter of days. I changed everything, my diet,
what was it
my
in the book
lifestyle.
that sparked?
So it was a book by Maya Tiwari, who is quite a very grounded Ayurvedic guru. She's an Indian woman, and it was called Women's Path to Heal. It didn't have Ayurveda in the title, but not luck. Now I will say the universe had conspired. So my husband comes from a line of Ayurvedic doctors.
That's right.
So when the path was shown to me, I just decided to walk it, because I thought no more. I deserve better. I can do better. I know that I can be successful, but it has to be more. It has to be more than just material success. I have to find joy.
Absolutely.
So.
It's such a resonation in a lot of people's lives, because a lot of that crashing,
it's necessary.
anxiety,
it's necessary.
It's like, we're talking events, stressful jobs, stressful, like all the stuff that seems all glitzy and glam, but events, you're the processing.
And how are you going to process, right? Am I going to have a meltdown? Am I going to fight it? Am I going to suppress it?
That's the pivotal point. That is the point. Because the physiological stress will always show itself. You'll always have a response to stimulus.
Because the body never lies.
The body never lies.
I mean, that is how I work with my clients. I completely trust their symptoms. If they tell me they don't have energy, but all the blood tests are normal, I trust them.
Exactly.
Because when I went looking, all my tests were normal, but I was like, no, I don't feel good. This is not good enough. And the things I have discovered, and so as an epidemiologist, that was what I studied. I used to run statistical models. So when public health, I was an epidemiologist, I used to run statistical models. And when people tell me now, my blood test results came back normal, we have to remember that normal is a curve, right? and only a certain proportion of people fall in the normal. There are lots of people who lie in the outliers.
Exactly.
And that doesn't necessarily mean you're not normal. We have to look at the whole picture. So, I ask people, like in my work today, I ask people about their bowel movements. I ask people to show me their tongue. I ask people, how do you feel in the morning? Are you hungry? And people will be like, you know more about me than my partner or my mom. But I'm like, this is the puzzle.
Amazing.
I am putting it all together. And, the example that I love to give people is everybody I work with has some kind of constipation or bloating. That is actually the underlying problem.
What's the reason?
Because the reason why I love looking at a candle or a fire is because all of us have a fire in the belly. Manipura chakra, the third chakra. In Ayurveda we call it Agni. Agni is our fire of digestion and transformation. But unlike the modern approach to gut health, Ayurveda takes it a step further. So we don't just consume food, right? We consume what we see, what we hear, information. The same Agni that helps us digest food is helping us digest everything. And most people have a compromised Agni. Overconsumption.
Of everything.
Of everything. And don't tell yourself I have the perfect diet. Because if you're consuming junk in relationships, at work, on social media, that dampens that Agni too.
Absolutely.
It blows.
And then all the soot and, carbon monoxide.
That's right. If the fire has not enough air, it doesn't burn well.
Everything that you are saying is actually down to the exemplification of everything we do. So how we operate to the stimulus, how long we wander in the stress, how stagnant we stay in our lives, in our misery. It's like that fire is always like being
it's being fed. It's being fed or it's being dampened.
Yes. And it depends, so what does dampen look like and what does fed look like?
Fantastic. So, if you think about a roaring fire, so let's imagine we've got a beautiful bonfire, right? It's autumn. This is actually the right time to be looking at fire because we are starting to feel cold. And even looking at a fire warms and brightens the mind, which actually stimulates the fire of digestion. That's why one of the Ayurvedic treatments for a damp fire is to do trataka, which is candle gazing. Because we consume heat, fire, light in many, many different ways. But a damp fire, at least in my work, is actually from overconsumption. Because it's like pouring a lot of sand on a fire that is finite. It can only handle so much. And the classic example, I would say, is eating your meal while watching TV. Everybody does it. But what are you doing? If a fire is think about it as a fire is 100%, right? You've got 100% of your digestive fire, your Agni. Now what I'm doing is, if I'm sitting at the dining table, 100% of my Agni is committed to my meal. That's all I'm consuming. I'm looking at the food, I'm smelling the food, I'm tasting the food. Agni is working 100%. Once I'm watching TV, my eyes don't know what I'm eating. My nose is not attuned to what I'm eating. Only the mouth is eating. So 50% of your Agni is here consuming this, and then only 50% of your Agni is down here.
That's why we have constipation.
That's right, and gas, and the other part of it is, what if you are watching something that is terrifying?
Absolutely.
What do you think that does to your physiology? It's contraction.
Or even gossipy.
Anything that feels uncomfortable, that makes you hold your shoulders up here. Why do we do it?
Back to addiction, isn't it?
Well, it's, I think,
culture, toxicity.
A lot of people, I think for me, a lot of the clients I work with, especially the women who watch TV while eating, they're lonely. I know it's a hard thing to hear, but I think as a culture we have become quite isolated. Many people live alone, and eating together adds joy to a meal. And I think especially during COVID, because we were so far apart for so long, we got used to screens at meals because many of us were starved of company and conversation. but it's a comfort thing, you know. Your mind feels like you're with people.
And it's numbing too.
And it's numbing too.
Numbing,
Yeah,
like
that's
you
right.
don't realize your loneliness because you
You feel like you're part of something. Yeah, that's right. And that's what consuming screen time does. The other thing that happens when we are consuming in this way is we're prone to overconsumption. So if you sit at the table, okay, so the classic example, as I tell people, is, you know, when you go to watch a movie, how much of popcorn? Like you can no longer buy like a little bit of popcorn. The popcorn it's bigger than my head. It's ridiculous.
I swear I could put
yeah, you could put your head in it. And I'm just like, who is this for? But if you go into the 3-hour movie, you come up with an empty bowl of popcorn. You do. Truth be told. But if I challenge anybody, put that bowl of popcorn at the dining table, sit down and try and finish it.
Without any TV, any stimulus.
No. So that is it. The body has an innate wisdom of hunger and satiation. But when we numb, when we switch off, or when we are overstimulated, a cinema is quite an overstimulated environment. You're just gulping that stuff down.
You forget everything.
Yeah.
You're sucked into this.
That's
whole,
right.
Yeah.
So I think that's again its culture. A lot of businesses have worked out ways to stimulate us in such a way that stops us from being aware of the consumption of actual food. Because it's a model, it's a business model. And we as consumers today, it is up to us to be empowered, to be discerning, and to put up healthy barriers. You can no longer say it's on somebody else.
Absolutely.
You know, because
it's onus on everyone.
the onus is on everybody. Yeah, that's right.
And I think as a practitioner or anyone that is able to provide advice, guidance, mentorship, that's what it is.
Yeah,
you
that's
can give
right.
all the information.
Yeah,
that's what
right.
we do.
That's right.
But no one can heal until the accountability.
That's right.
And the onus is
And
on the actual person.
On the person. And the way I like to talk about it is what we were talking about. It has to come from love. You have to say, I love myself enough that I will choose not to harm myself.
Absolutely.
And that is where we break addiction. Addiction is not broken by withdrawal, by being sharp and hard and judgmental. It is purely through love, compassion, understanding, love. And I tell everybody, every time we cook for ourselves, every time you sit at the dining table and eat, every time you practice gratitude, it's self-love. It is always for you first, and then for everybody else. And you know, all of us have it in us to change the world by changing ourselves. You know, that is the work. Nobody out there who can tell me, because I used to be one of those people in my work in addiction. I became very cynical of the world. Everything's screwed, the world's going the wrong direction, everybody's like eating crap, we're all going to have mental health issues, ha ha ha.
It's too big.
It's too big, it's too hard. But what I realized in my own journey is I am the bringer of the light. I have to show up and do the work. If I believe that the world needs to change, it has to start with me. And so everybody I work with, that is the accountability. I tell them, think of one thing you wish for the world to change and change it within yourself.
Exactly.
You know, if we all did that, the world would change.
Absolutely.
I
think we've resolved the world.
Yeah, we'll
like no big deal, but it's pretty much
we
did it.
Nobel Peace Prize, guys. Come on, bring it on. But yeah, I mean, it's hard work. We know it.
But that's actually what it comes down
I
to.
know.
Every single person is the only one that can change the world, starting from themselves.
And we all need to heal. That's why we're here. So Ayurveda is really the science of, yes, we're starting with your digestion. Yes, we're starting with your sleep. But when I work with people, I work with them for a couple of months. We start with the physical, because nobody can sit down and meditate and reflect when their stomach is not good.
No.
Nobody can be calm and blissful if they're not sleeping well. Nobody can make a good choice when their hormones are out of whack. I completely understand. So you have to, Ayurveda as a science comes from the same Vedic sciences as yoga, as meditation, as astrology, as all the other sciences, because they are meant to be worked in tandem. You're meant to work with on all parts of yourself together. And so that's the mode that I take when I work with people. And I think part of what my generation of Ayurvedic practitioners is trying to do that's a little bit different is we're trying not to over medicalize. So everybody asks me, what herbs should I take? Is it ashwagandha? Is it shatavari? And I'm like,
lion's mane.
turmeric, yeah, like, and I'm just like, yeah, that's all great, but how are you eating? How are you consuming?
Yeah.
Because actually, you know, if our diets were meant to be super strict and complicated, we should have died out as a species. You know, nature has a way of getting rid of the weak stuff and keeping the resilient stuff.
Yeah.
If we as human beings have been around as long as we could, it can't be that hard. The diet can't be so prescriptive.
Exactly.
You know, the lifestyle can't be that.
I'm sure we're doing something.
Yeah,
and also nature takes care of
nature takes.
rebalance.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think the one thing we've learned, even from my understanding from the environmental scientist kind of background, is the environment, they say, is not actually in danger. I know it seems like a big woo thing for me, but hear me out. It's actually so smart, it will recalibrate. That's why all the upheaval, so-called, like the weather is
because
it's trying
it's
to
recalibrate.
rebalance.
Absolutely.
And the same to everything on the macro is the micro.
Exactly.
So even us, even though we're so toxic to ourselves with all this consumption, some way, somehow we're surviving because we're very intelligent beings, and that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
Working with the intelligence rather than the subconscious, like conditioning, and you know the way that it's like awareness, consciousness,
that's right.
education,
and that's all growing as well. That's all growing as well, and I think that's why, if anybody is serious about health, you have to address all aspects. Where is your mental health? Where is your spiritual health? It doesn't mean that we all have to go to a temple or church and pray, but have faith in something bigger. Have aspirations that are beyond the material. See yourself as more than just here to do the grind and live and die. Find something bigger and believe in it with all your heart and chase it. That is a good life, I think. You know, and then success is no longer dictated by how much I made today, how I look in the mirror. It is what I did. It is how I gave in my life. It is how I was of service. And if we think about the people who have changed humanity and moved us all, that is what they did. They didn't go out to serve themselves. But in the course of serving others, they found the light within themselves. And that was incredible, you know. And I believe that is my aspiration as a practitioner. Yes, it's a small way that I do things, but my dreams are big.
They are. And I think the wonderful, I guess, resonance you have is that you have this desire to change yourself strongly, and that is translated in, you know, honoring like the worship of this practice. Like you think it's so valuable, it's applied to your life, you're helping yourself, you're still demonstrating, you know, I'm showing up in my imbalances, but I'm doing this.
Absolutely.
And hey, this is my help for me, this could help you. And I think that's like the translation. As you said, change yourself. Change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that goes for everybody, because I believe anything one person can do, everybody we all have it in us. It is just the same will that I used to put into showing up for work and getting those things done. I put it in every day. It's just in a different channel. You have to follow.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dhanya, for being such a beautiful friend, mentor, guide, team member. Like,
same here.
I mean, but also we are coming back with collaborating.
Yes.
It's called Soul Circles, and we will be bringing what we do best, our knowledge, our learning, our mistakes, all the things that we've learned from, we'll bring it to the table using our skill sets. So with the Ayurvedic background and understanding of all the, even just doing the addiction.
Yeah, that's right.
Background.
We'll be covering a couple of different topics, but the way we planned it out is, you know, the purpose of the Soul Circle events is basically take away a couple of nuggets of practical, sensible information, try them out. Life is an experiment, you know, and then slowly over time, learn to find your own balance. At the end of the day, my job is, I think all of our jobs are, we are here to guide, but there is only one person who can walk the walk, and that's each person out there. But being around people who lift you up and show you how to be truthful and honor yourself, I think that is nourishment in itself. That is consumption too.
Absolutely. In yoga they say, you know, the environment fix that. Start with that.
Absolutely.
You know, even cleanliness,
Yeah.
like sattva.
Yeah, that's right.
And then work into your body and
Yeah.
your prana and
Yeah.
your intellect and you know, so there's
Layers.
layers.
Yeah.
So we'll go through layers and we'll make it very practical, we'll make it very achievable in any sense, whatever you're navigating. We'll try and do our best anyway.
Absolutely.
We'll try and do our
That's
best to
right.
help with any.
Yeah.
So the first one will give an announcement soon, but other than that, this is Dhanya. This is our beautiful Dhanya. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Conscious business is your business,
Yes.
made consciously and evoked in a conscious way, so we can understand really what we mean by Ayurveda, what we mean by yoga, what we mean by any other modality that has helped shape and evolve lives. We want to talk about it in a conscious way. So conscious business, thank you so much. Thank you.